Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and everybody who came. I'm I'm blown away by the attendance here. Uh, really, only barely feel worthy of it. First, I have to say, Micaiah Bryant. I have to say, Dante Wright. I have to say, Sean Monterosa. I have to say, Mumia Abu Jamal. I have to say, Leonard Peltier. I have to say, Elaine Arkansas. I have to say, Ursula Detention Center. I have to say that Ronald Reagan was the inauguration of a corporatocracy that had me frisked before I got out of elementary school. I have to promise you that this isn't a poem. I want love and peace. I have to say that I'm a revolutionary. Have to say, settle your quarrels. If you let me tell it, I was a pretty internal child with an eye for the parallels of the world while being reared by the easygoing radical hurricanes of the city. Warriors at rest, licking their wounds from a hard 60s and 70s fight with the system. Raised by park and rec directors, by deities of Bay Area hip hop, by functional dope addicts, by the suspended animation that was our pockets, tripwires laid between the blues and food, a good homeland for comedy. I was raised by collective memory, understanding that you can be the next Malcolm X if you let your neighbor live, understanding that ideologies are created by people as determined by their relationships to power, or your set of beliefs match your relationship to power, understanding that at some point a cosmic reality seeps out of rundown people, and to always look for poetry there. To be in this moment as San Francisco Poet Laureate is an honor and a haunting. See me and see these ghosts is an honor and a plea that we reorient ourselves to a people's power. Make no mistake, we are in an epochal shift, a change in eras that is not even dressing down anymore. A lot of strange fruit in our breakfast bowls, a lot of counter revolution replayed every night, and a death cult growing even more desensitized. You know, part of our brainwashing is how much they would have us romanticize and make an overinflated science out of the white power structure. In this society, all emphasis is on the development of the system and not the development of the people. Or should I say, not the complex revolutionary development of the people. The system has all of these narratives, subplots, molecular life, bells and whistles, heroes and plot twists, raptures and reforms. Has the richest character life of any stage play or movie you can imagine, while the people are considered this super simplified mass of basic need and basic ambition. This inhibits us and stunts our humanization, making us feel like we are not the most crucial factor in the synthesis of all social reality. The objective of the ruling class, turn us all into objects, or the walking flatlined who only come to life or enjoy a feeling of aliveness when doing an activity, job, function, even flexing a right that the ruling class prescribes, all of which furthers their power. So we get the effect that all of this reality is being produced in a galaxy far away, and in galaxies more relevant than our culture, than our potentials to organize. It creates a tendency to cower in the face of the historical moves the power structure makes, surrendering to what is presented as something that is not your human right to understand nor participate in. What poetry teaches us is that there is nothing, especially no whole pictures or greater social context, that we cannot name for ourselves. And therefore, there is no bigger picture that we cannot transform. Stephen Biko said the most powerful weapon in the hand of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. But one of their most important psychological tools is to keep everyone selfish, keep everyone willing to suspend the humanity of others when necessary, keep everyone from experiencing the full range of their consciousness. We have to grow out of our individualism. I know individualism has even literally saved some of our lives. but we have to grow past it now. I know that joining in these ruling class agendas has saved some of our lives. I know we have found temporary dignity in their furious hegemonic imagination and suffering these illusions of footing or some kind of capitalism of color. History slowing down to the speed of our catchphrases about money and action. Call me crazy, but I don't want any role in this imperialism. It's time to move on. We have to forgive ourselves and grow into a revolutionary consciousness. We have to synthesize a better ideology. The project of analysis is where we enter as human beings, bent on reabsorbing our powers to determine our humanity and determine our reality. Take a step towards revolution. It might take 2 steps towards you. It's in this project where you will find me with my little poems. I wanted to make this inaugural address collective because when it comes down to it, I cannot tell where I actually individually begin and end. I'm an extension of and extend into the words, hearts, spirits, and solidarities of these people who have shown up for me today, who have been showing up for me since the variety of cradles I've emerged from throughout my life. Steel doesn't have to sharpen steel. Sometimes it's a different matter. Sometimes it's just that steel reminds you that you are steel. You all are the definitions I have made a path out of. I could actually keep you all here all night with dozens of people I would surely be nothing without. The people both here and watching from our various strongholds are my entire strength, are my revolutionary commitment, and have provided me the architectures of thought that I make music with today. Before I bring them up, I'm going to warm things up for them. You know, societies wander together like hopeful drops of a virus. Citizen testaments bent on offering me a nation of breadwinners to hold me back like it's a Brinks. I wrinkle the concrete sometimes like flesh, my Martin Luther King permanence turning away from a podium into the reeds like God is the dangerous twin. Black August to the mountaintop, balcony on my bedroom floor. You know, they steal you from the earth itself and suspend you in your broken neck from their foolish euphoria, from the loyalty oath of their gray superstitions, the loyalty oath of their gray reforms. I mean, I returned to my mother completely disrespected. For peeling the heat off of purgatory, they kill poets like me. Walk me away from my poems, never to be heard from again. In this final industrial complex of bloodlines picked over, picked through a sport and spiritual death of your devil at least half made, police become a pretty word. I'm reading a lynch mob shoestrings like they were tea leaves, teaching you how to write about cities. It's the 25th century in the mirror, people. Tyranny against your chump chains, your chump to be mocked even with a gun in your car. Cubit of needlework, spelled tune for the proletariat. The relapse ministry. Cubit of needlework with talented people curled up in a fetal position next to a diamond dying, just another service day in the theatrics of tea house fascism. And a bouquet of surveillance cameras in the poverty of God. New blue eyes, corpses of water, newly potted presidency, or one big shiny coin if you ask an animated capitalism and other non-literal voids, killing his white freedom, the deification of hyphens, medicine bread and picture shows, great protesters in LA, guests of our ink, drop kicking roses in the graveyard, DC mink like a stone torn in half, the pen advances despite CIA guideposts, despite non-African past and futures, a metaphorical but not surreal day in a horn-ridden life, horn player improvising king. Like a radio prize fight featuring Shango himself, a real hand sweeps the land of racism. May I make progress with the gun? May I return to the ground, our mother Emmanuel? You know, they put on music that evening, a swinging type body language for you to drink with your fermented $5 bills for your body language, some applause, my past stomach line, and neither a good thing nor a bad thing, like being psychic on the way to a lethal injection. It'll sit you down with Lady Day. Lady Day leading youth who surrendered their souls to Africa too soon. Polity thought floating in the cup of water, she saved me, accessing my stomach, accessing the love of the American lynched. Coat sleeves wooden and avalanching to the wrist. Our mother Emmanuel avalanching to the sharp keys, pain. The deal you make with pain. You know, piano makes sense for them. Laying hands on the world gradually. Addressing the bend and necks on the streets of the north. Travelers sailing in pain, repeating pain in the north. 10 trigger fingers on that piano if harmony would have me. 100 fights offered every direction. Lady Day, leaning on trees again, recruiting the countryside itself, saying, lay your plan out on this lightning. Make your poems the corner pocket of men. I've greeted the blues itself. America may clean my dead body, but will never include me. There goes the poet, killing without killing. Never mind this painting of your language. May I be a meaningful lynching, a crow's passing, good and dead by the afternoon. I go to the railroad tracks and follow them to the station of my enemies. A cobalt-toothed man pitches pennies at my mugshot negative all over the United States. There are toddlers in the rock. I see why everyone out here got in the big cosmic basket and why blood agreements mean a lot and why I get shot back at. I understand the psycho-spiritual refusal to write white history or take the glass freeway. White skin tattooed on my right forearm, ricochet sewage near where I collapsed into a rat-infested manhood. My new existence is living graffiti. In the kitchen with a lot of gun cylinders to hack up. House of God in part, no cops in part. My body brings down to Christmas. The new bullets pray over blankets made from the old bullets. Pray over the 28th hour's next beauty mark, extrajudicial Confederate statue restoration, the waistband before the next protest poster. Hey, by the way, time is not an illusion, Your Honor. I will save your deaths for last. You're witty, Your Honor. You're moving money again, Your Honor. It is only raining one thing, non-white cops. And prison guard shadows reminded me of spoiled milk floating on an oil spill, a neighborhood making a lot of fuss over its demise, a new lake for a Black Panther party. Malcolm X's ballroom jacket slung over my son's shoulder, the figment of village, a new noose to a new white preacher, all in an abstract painting of a president. They bought slavery some time, didn't it? The tantric screeches of military boats and election Tuesday cars, a cold-blooded study in leg irons, proof that some white people have actually found those nooses. The sundown couples made their vows of love over opaque peach plastic and boat action audiences. The Medgar Evers second is definitely my favorite law of science. Found news clippings and primitive Methodists, my arm changes imperialisms, simple policing versus structural frenzies, elementary school script versus even wider white spectrums, artless bleeding and the challenge of watching civilians thinking, terrible rituals they have around the corner. They let their elders beg for public mercy. I'm gonna go ahead and sharpen these kids' heads in the arrows myself and see how much gravy spills out of family crest, modern fans of war. Well, with their t-shirt poems and t-shirt guilt and me having on the cheapest pair of shoes on the bus, I have no choice but to read the city walls for signs of my life. You know, apparently too much of San Francisco was not there in the first place. You know, this dream requires more condemned Africans, or put another way, state violence rises down, or still life is just getting warmed up, or army life is looking for a new church and ignored all other suggestions, or folktale writers have not made up their minds as to who is going to be their friends. You know, this is the worst downtown yet. And I brought a cigarette everywhere. I've taken many a walk to the back of a bus that led on out the back of a storyteller's prison sentence, then on out the back of slave scars, but this is my comeback face. I left my watch on the public bathroom sink and took the toilet with me. Threw it at the first bus I saw, eating single mothers half alive. It flew through the bus line number and on out the front of the White House. And hopefully you find comfort downtown. But if not, we brought you enough cigarette filters to make a decent winter coat. A special species of handshake. Let's all know who's king and what's the lifespan of uniform cloth. This coffin needs to quit acting like those are birds singing. Rusty nails have no wings. Have no voice other than that of a white world dying their book pages in the gas pump. Catchy, isn't it? The way 3 nooses is the rule. Or the way potato sack masks go so well with radio codes, or the way condemned Africans fought their way back to the ocean, only to find waves made of 1920s burnt up piano parts, European backdoor deals, and red flowers for widows who spent all day in the sun mumbling in San Francisco. Red flowers, but what's the color of a doctor visit? There are book titles in the streets, book titles like Hero, You'd Make a Better Zero, or Hey, Fur Coat Lady, the President is Dead, or Pay Me Back in Children, or they hung up their bodies in their own museums, and other book titles pulled from a drum solo, Run Here, Hero, Lied to Hiding Place, all the bullets in 10 precincts know where to go. There's no heaven nor any other good idea in the sky. Politics means that people did it and people do it. Understand that when in San Francisco and other places that was never really there. I bet this ocean thinks it's an ocean, but it's not. It's just 6th and Mission Street. All know who's king. King of thin things. You know, like America, I'm proud to deserve to die. I'm going to eat my dinner extra slow tonight in this police state candy dispenser you all call the neighborhood. No set of manners goes unpunished. Never mind a murderer's insomnia or the tea kettle preparing everyone for police sirens. You know, a lot of God can happen in 3 seconds. Not much heaven, though. Here's a man before a fight. A leave me alone type character emerging from the penniless death of a one-way street fiction. This is a fancy way of saying I'm going to make it even if I have to drive backwards. All I have is chord changes and 1,000 backhands driving the street like I'm choking it. Car full of nephews. There hasn't been a sun since November, and there hasn't been a street I can't choke to death. This city better back down. You see this gun on the table and something about staring until it all feels stable. Why wouldn't I protect everyone on my death? Sleep late. My son better be quick. My daughter better shoot first because we fall for no one. We fall for nothing. Okay, the first thing you'll feel is the heat. This lady would tell me, trying to tell me about possession. A drink life need is what I mostly hear, and most of the world leaves me alone. To breathe small like a giant, to go to jail every once in a while when the genocide kicks up in late May. When politicians have too easy a time, I'm gassing backwards out of one-way street in honor of myself and in honor of you. If you understand the nature of the world, how long I've been just like my father. One hell of a resemblance says the anxiety of the neighborhood. This is a crossroads or a crossroads narrative of so much crossroads. People get in the habit of turn back only to find themselves remembering me, but not my last words. A man before a fight. You'll feel the heat. But there's nothing to keep in mind. There's nothing to remember. Really, there's nothing to be. It's just this moment, then another, then stare, then it all becomes stable. Then the table lets go fuzzy, and Friday's an unfamiliar face peeking through the window. It's cool to panic for a second. Composure is wasted on your worst enemies. People are marked on that sidewalk. You the only thing life-size. Everybody knows this in a wire hanger empire. When the blood stops walking, that feeling isn't father enough to be permission to fold. You better swing one more time. That father of yours rose from the grave and said, just give me 5 more minutes. He said, running water is a myth. It's us who are running up, down, and all alongside this water. And people don't rise from the grave. They're not laid down neither. It's us who flip all around their bodies. So beware when the people around you all look like they about to jump. It might be your time. You'll feel the heat. And when 4 walls demand to be 4 walls and the earth outside mutes, don't panic. Don't try to recreate the earth outside. Don't tell jokes to yourself. Don't even talk disrespectfully to the 4 walls. Instead, unclench your fist and walk away. There might be heaven. If you understand the nature of the world. Right on.